In my previous videos, we've seen which builds are strongest on ADCs in Smite 2, but there is a severe lack of intelligence items appearing in these builds. Only Braggy's Harp and Sunbeam Bow are truly core items for ADCs, but these two items do have very low intelligence. Currently, there is no viable way to build ADCs with high intelligence. It is always more beneficial to build more strength, which is a bit of an issue as there are certain items in the game that seem to want to encourage intelligence ADCs to exist. The prime example of this is Demonic Grip, which provides the exact same passive as the Executioner but has intelligence on it instead of strength. Demonic Grip is simply a bait item. It is always outclassed by Executioner and so should never be brought in an ADC build. Even on Chronos, who theoretically should have the best high intelligence ADC build, still is much better off with a high strength build, even when you're min-maxing his first ability, which scales off of intelligence. If Chronos cannot justify a high int build for maximising auto-attack DPS, then no god can. But there is hope for high int ADC builds. A new item, Cyclopean Ring, gives 2 basic attack damage and 2% attack speed for every 30 intelligence you build. So will this item be enough to encourage high int ADC builds? Remember that strength is better in auto attack builds because basic attacks scale with 100% of your strength, but only 20% of your intelligence. So a 50 strength item will give you 50 basic attack damage, but a 50 intelligence item will only give you 10 basic attack damage. Cyclopean Ring essentially changes the intelligence scaling on your auto attacks from 20% to around 26.5%, and also provides you with a decent amount of attack speed for building intelligence. Chronos' auto-attack scaling is even greater with Cyclopean Ring, as he gains 22% of his intelligence as extra damage on his first ability, which means his intelligence scaling is the base amount of 20%, plus 22% from his first ability, plus 6.5% from Cyclopean Ring, which brings his total basic attack scaling from the normal 20% to a massive 48.5%. And he gains 5% of his intelligence as flat penetration too. Surely this will be enough to make high intelligence builds good on this character. Here are Cern's top builds. He kills the whole enemy team in 14.57 seconds with this top build. Now let's see how a high intelligence Cyclopean Ring build will compare. Here are Chronos' top builds where his intelligence is greater than his strength. We can see for the top build, Cyclopean Ring doesn't even appear. If you want a high intelligence build on Chronos, you're actually better off not buying Cyclopean Ring at all. Which pretty much means Cyclopean Ring is a bait of an item, just like Demonic Grip. And remember, these builds are assuming that Cern is min-maxing his first ability. And like I said earlier, if Chronos can't pull off a high intelligence build, then no god can. Is there an argument for these builds? Will the high int pay off because you're doing more damage with your abilities? I'd say no. These numbers already assume min-maxing Chronos as 1, and if you want to build Cyclopean Ring and Demonic Grip, you are building for an auto attack damage build, not an ability damage build. Another issue in Smite 2 at the moment is that all hybrid scaling gods are actually better off with pure strength, as shown in PBM's video that I'll link in the description. So if you wanted to maximise burst damage, you'd be better off for a high strength jungle style build than any other kind of build. So we've determined that when Cyclopean Ring gets released next week, we shouldn't be buying it on any ADC characters. Maybe it'll be okay on Sol with our aspect, or other mid-type gods who are building high intelligence anyway, and can take advantage of the extra auto-attack damage and attack speed. But not on auto-attack characters who still need to buy strength items to maximise damage. But what can high-res do to make these int builds more viable on ADCs? Firstly, buffing Cyclopean Ring would be a good start. If they increase scaling of this item to 3 basic attack damage and 3% attack speed per 30 intelligence, Chronos' top int builds would look like this. With a 15.66 second time to kill, we are getting closer to the top standard builds, but an 8% damage difference between these two builds would mean I would still rather build the more standard build. But what if we allow Cyclopean Ring to increase its scaling again to 4 basic attack damage and 4% attack speed per 30 intelligence? Then we get these results. We get a 14.86 second time to kill, which is much more in line with the standard builds. I think we need to see this item buffed to provide double the attack speed and basic attack damage it currently provides. This is the only way to make it somewhat viable for ADCs to actually build, and it would really open up build paths for intelligence scaling hunters like Chrononos, Izanami and Danza, who at the moment build like any other standard hunter. Hi-Rez should really be trying to use dual scaling gods to finally create varied builds between different ADCs. Cyclopean Ring could be buffed, but it might get abused by mid laners, so it may not be a final solution. Another thing Hi-Rez could try would be more interesting intelligence ADC items added to the game, like a Kin's equivalent with high intelligence, because no matter what, Kins must be built in all hunter builds. Or other interesting effects like slows or protection shred, just to create some variety in ADC builds. We also need to see a buff to demonic grip, to bring it in line with the executioner, because that item is useless. I'd suggest giving it 30% attack speed, or failing that, increasing the penetration on it. These are just my suggestions, and they might not be fully balanced, but I really want Hi-Rez to push high int builds for ADCs. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any suggestions for what high int ADC items could be added to the game, please leave a comment. And remember, don't guess, do the math.